Welcome back, friends. In today's video, we're going to be talking about my favorite monochromatic blue palettes. If you saw my last video, I did talk about my favorite monochromatic red palettes, and we're kind of continuing on with this series. I'm not going to be doing this same thing in my next video. What's it going to be? Sunday? Yeah. My next video is not going to be part of this series. I'll hop back into this series when I get the chance, but I have some other things planned in the very near future. But for now, we're going to continue on the whole monochromatic theme. If you saw the last one that I did, I was talking about red palettes and saying, you know, red is my favorite color, and I can't believe I only have, I think it was 6 palettes to talk about, and, you know, saying that there's not a ton of red monochromatic palettes out there, but I was saying that I have so many more of the other colors in my collection. And then when I was getting ready for today's video, I realized I actually don't have as many blue palettes as I thought I did. I promise, I do have a lot of green, purple, and pink palettes. We'll talk about those in the future. But literally, I have less palettes to talk about in this video than I had in the red category. I think that there's just so many palettes out there that have blue in them that in my head I had more monochromatic blue palettes. There's a lot of like kind of blue centric or blue leaning palettes, like the Frosted Flakes palette from Glamlight. I don't know, I don't want to like sit here and just list all of them, but you know what I mean. Blue is a color that will pop up in a lot of palettes, and it's kind of like the pop of color in a lot of palettes. So you get a lot of blue in your collection if you have a lot of palettes, but when it actually came down to it, I didn't actually have as many strictly blue-centric palettes as I thought I did. Let's start with a quick honorable mention like I did last time. It's just going to be one palette this time that I'm going to mention. This one is a really great palette. The only reason that it's not part of my 5 favorites that I'm talking about today is because it's actually half purple, and I just didn't think that it qualified. This is the Midnight palette from Beauty Bay, and it's literally half purple and half blue. This is the big version of the palette. There's also smaller versions, and it's a gorgeous palette. These shimmers are absolutely beautiful. Definitely a go-to if I want to do these kinds of colors, but I just couldn't, in good conscience, include it in this top 5 or whatever. It's not a ranking, it's just kind of listing off my favorites because it is not completely monochromatic. Okay, let's get into the palette that I'm wearing in today's video. Do you like this look? I took an awful lot of time to do this. I really took my time. I really wanted to make sure that it looked good, and I had time to take. Do you like what I did with my lip situation? Instead of like making it super overdrawn, I just kind of dramatized the Cupid's bow. Love that. Anyway, we're not talking about lips. The palette that I'm wearing on my eyes today is this gorgeous palette from BH. Again, this is from the Poison Shock series of palettes from them that they came out with, I think for Halloween 2021. Yeah, I think it was Halloween 2021. And these palettes are no longer available. They were very kind of limited edition. They were on their website for a while, but they are definitely gone now. They do kind of pop up every now and then at Marshall's and TJ Maxx. So if you can find these bad boys there, I would highly recommend literally any of them. I have all of them except for one, and they're all amazing. I'm pretty sure they're all going to show up in these favorites videos. But yeah, this is a gorgeous palette. There's just 3 mattes. I used all 3 of them today, and the rest are all shimmers, 6 shimmers. They're beautiful. I mean, look at that. I think that that's gorgeous. It's not easy to formulate blues, which is why, you know, not a lot of brands do completely monochromatic blue palettes. And it's definitely hard to do deeper blues, but I mean, that's gorgeous, right? I think that you also have to know how to apply blues. I've noticed that when I do blue eyeshadow looks, it seems like the videos kind of get more views. I'm wondering if that's because people are like shook that someone can pull off blue. I don't know. Not that I'm like some amazing makeup artist that can like pull off blue and no one else can do it. But I think most people feel intimidated by blues, and it's probably because the way that you have to put them on is different from other colored eyeshadows. You really have to kind of like pack them on and very gently blend. These blues are no different, but you know, they are still very good quality. They are easy to work with. And I mean, look at the results. I do love with these Poison Shock palettes the gradient, the difference in the undertones. I guess this one in particular doesn't have a ton of different undertones. Some of these, they're a little similar, right? Let me get closer to the camera. Those two in the middle and these two here, they're pretty close, but you can tell the difference. What did I even use? I used so many. I used the darkest shimmer. I used all three of the mattes, like I said. I used the darkest shimmer. I used this one, and I kind of just like went across. I used this one, and then I used this one on the inner corner. I ran this one along the lower lash line. I used all of the shades except for this one. Is that true? Yeah, I used all the shades except for Heart of Ice, the middle one. Beautiful palette. I don't want to harp on it for too long because, like I said, it is discontinued, but BH has great eyeshadows, a great eyeshadow formula, and I think you can still get the Say It collection from them. It's a series of 9-pan palettes. They're not monochromatic, but they are really beautiful. So if you were looking for a blue eyeshadow palette from BH, I think the one that I have is called, I didn't think to grab it, but I think it's called Do Not Disturb. It has some really beautiful blues, and then it has like some kind of purpley red colors. I don't know, it's a really nice palette. I would recommend that one. Another brand that is absolutely excellent though when it comes to formulating blues, probably the best brand I think for formulating blue mattes, is ColourPop. This is sideways, but this one here is the, you can't even see the name, the Blue Moon palette from ColourPop. This is an oldie but a goodie. They did come out with another palette that looks very similar to this that went to Target. It's one of the ones with like the clear cover. What is that one called? Blue something or other, but this is kind of like the OG, so this is the one that I have. Their blue mattes are gorgeous. They're so good. These blue palettes, I have one more from them as well that I'm gonna mention in a second. They're so beautiful. They're so gorgeous. I know that ColourPop's shimmers aren't as poppy as other brands. We're gonna talk about some more poppy fun shimmers in a second as well, but their mattes are so beautiful and so reliable. And I just love this palette. Whenever I think of doing a blue look, I always think of this one and the next one that we're going to talk about as well. The other one that I want to talk about from ColourPop is On Cloud Blue. This is the other one that I think of every time I consider doing a blue look. And this one is a little more pastel. It's a little bit like softer. It's beautiful, and the way that I look at my 9-pan palettes from ColourPop, I kind of see them as all kind of going together. Like I have a box of them and I'll just pull them out and pick colors from all different palettes to create looks. So I'll use this one with Blue Moon, and let me just hold them up together and you can kind of see how they just kind of go together. I just feel like they complement each other really well, like as like an 18-pan color story. Like that's pretty great, right? Like it's kind of everything that you need. There is a pressed glitter in the center of this one. I know not everyone is a big fan of that, but if you were looking for some good blue eyeshadow palettes, I would very highly recommend these ones from ColourPop. And as far as I'm aware, the other one that they released with Target is also really high quality. So check that one out as well. Like I said, don't have that one, but I've heard it's good. Now I want to talk about, like, literally I only have 2 more of these bad boys left, and they're both from the same brand. I shooketh that I only had this many completely monochromatic blue palettes that I wanted to talk about. But the last 2 are from Glamlight. This is the Glamlight and Hershey's Kisses palette. It's beautiful. I have 2 of the palettes from this collection, and they're both really gorgeous. This is the Color Story. The issue that I kind of have with this palette and the other one from this series is that they are 6-pan palettes, and I don't love a 6-pan palette just because I personally find it restrictive. 8 shades is usually the minimum for me for like how many shades I look for in a palette. Just because I feel like it can be a little restrictive. There's only 2 different shimmers in this. There's not necessarily a decent inner corner shade for this one, but it's still so gorgeous. Like, just use a highlighter in the inner corner. Like, it's fine. This is the shimmers in this palette are gorgeous. The mattes are very blendable, high quality, really buttery and delicious palette. I was really surprised by the quality of this palette when I used it, and I definitely want to use it again. The only reason that I went with the Sub-Zero palette. Oh, I didn't even say the name of this one before. This is the Sub-Zero palette, by the way. Oh, God. The only reason I went with the Sub-Zero palette instead of the Hershey's Kiss palette is because this palette is one of my absolute favorites when it comes to blues. Like, it always blows me away, and I haven't used it in a long time, so I just wanted to pull it back out again. But honestly, this one could have also been a contender for, or it was actually a contender for what I was gonna maybe use today. It's a gorgeous palette. Look at that. It's so beautiful. I love this like slightly greenish tinged blue shimmer. This one also has a really great gradient of depth. I don't know, I just think it's a beautiful palette, regardless of the fact that it is only 6 pans. And then the last palette that I want to talk about, that's right, we're at the end already. This is the Blue Icy palette from Glamlight, and this is another one that I tried recently. Again, gorgeous, gorgeous shimmers in these palettes. Glamlight has such beautiful shimmer shadows in their collection. Again, this one has really good range from dark to light. This one does have a very nice inner corner shade. It actually has... It's a little hard to tell in my lighting right now, but I think it has... This one can also be used as like an inner corner, like a matte inner corner. This is a beautiful palette. It has the kind of more slightly greenish tones in it. Actually, I feel like these mattes would go even better with the shimmer in the Hershey's palette. Let me pop it open. Like, looking at these side by side, don't you feel like that shimmer kind of goes nicely with those mattes? I don't know, just a thought. I'm not telling you that you have to have both of the palettes to be able to appreciate them, but I always like to look at my palettes as like, how can I use them together? And I just think this is a gorgeous palette, and it's definitely a go-to when I want to do a blue monochromatic look. It feels weird to say it, but that's honestly it. I really did think that I had more monochromatic blue palettes in my collection, but as it turns out, I don't. So let me know, though, if there are monochromatic blue palettes out there that I'm missing out on. I hope that you liked my recommendations. I know this one is not really available anymore, but again, if you see it in Marshall's, grab it up. I'm pretty sure, though, that the rest of these palettes are all still very much available. This one included, my honorable mention, the Midnight palette. This one could also be an honorable mention in my purple favorites as well. So maybe I'll mention it again then. But yeah, I do hope that you enjoyed. Sorry that this one ended up being way shorter than I anticipated, but I literally just don't even have that many of these palettes. Which one is your favorite? Do you have any of these palettes in your collection? Do you love blue eyeshadow? I know I kind of have a hard time with making it work for me, just like with my skin tone and stuff. Blending things out can be difficult. Like you'll notice I brought the light blue right up to my brow bone. I just feel like when I do these blue looks, that's kind of the best way to go for me personally, or at least that's how I just feel comfortable doing it. But how do you use blue eyeshadow? Do you prefer to do a neutral in the crease? Do you even like doing a monochromatic blue look? Let me know your opinions. I do hope that you enjoyed the video. If you are new here, I do post every Sunday and every Wednesday, or at least usually I do. Recently there's been some struggle, but I am trying to upload every Sunday and every Wednesday. So subscribe for more. If you're enjoying this series, I do have a video about my favorite monochromatic red palettes. I also have a slightly longer video about my favorite neutral palettes in my collection, so you can check those out. I do have a playlist. This one is going to be on there too, so check it out. But I will be seeing you guys again on Sunday with another video. We're going to be celebrating fall because the first day of fall, the first official day of fall, is Saturday. Which is funny because I'm like already mentally in fall mode, but I'm going to be doing something special for that, so stay tuned, folks. In the meantime, I hope that you have a great week. Peace.